Hello everybody, my name is Raquel. Welcome back to my channel. This week we're going to be talking about all the books that I read in June and my July TBR. The first book that I read in June was Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. This is the second book in the Bellinger Sisters series. And in the second book, we kind of start out with that as they're kind of friends. They text, they have like a cute frenzy relationship, but when she goes to visit her sister in Washington State, she ends up staying with him as like his roommate, and they end up becoming more than friends. And this book was really cute, it was funny, it had some emotion in there. I just think it was a really well done rom-com, and I gave it 4.5. The next book that I read was Hooked by Emily McIntyre. This is the first book in the Never After series. The whole series are standalone books, but they're all reimaginings of Disney fairy tales that we know and love. So for example, this one is based off Captain Hook from Peter Pan. Now this Hook is nothing like the Captain Hook the pirate that we all know. This is a dark romance. All of the books in the series are dark romances, and there are a lot of references that you'll find. I tabbed it a lot. Every time I found like something that reminded me of the cartoon Peter Pan, I thought it was fun to just put a tab there. And for example, in the cartoon, pixie dust is, what they use to help them fly. In this book, pixie dust is the name of the drug that they're pushing. So you'll see the names and references, and even like Captain Hook in the TV show or TV movie hated the sound of a ticking clock. He hates the sound of a ticking clock for a very different, much darker reason. But I loved all the references. I thought that was really fun. I gave it a 4-star. I thought for a dark romance, I actually really love that they focus a lot on plot. Like there was a storyline there, even without the romance. It is a dark romance, it's not the sweet, cute romance that I sometimes want. And I think maybe I really wasn't in the mood for a dark romance at the time. But I gave it a 4-star. I did think it was good. I didn't think there was anything really that bad or negative about it. I just don't know if that I was in the mood for it, which is probably why I rated it lower. But overall, very good. Definitely going to read the next one. The next book that I read was Blind Side by Candy Steiner. This was my first Candy Steiner book. I don't know what it is about sports romances, but they are my thing. I always love them. And this was no different. This was definitely a 5-star read for me. So we have Clay Johnson and Gianna. So Clay is on the football team. He's charismatic, he's great, but he just had his heart broken by his high school sweetheart, and he is not in the greatest of moods. Then we have Gianna, who is kind of like involved in public relations and very much cares about the image of the football players. So Gianna has a really big crush on this musician guy, right? And Clay just got his heart broken and really wants to be back with his ex. So what do? You enter a fake relationship. She can seem like more to the musician guy. He's gonna notice her because somebody else wants her. And he can make his ex-girlfriend jealous when Gianna seems to want him. It's the perfect thing to do. It's for them to both get what they want. And of course, like most fake dating relationships, they end up preferring to be with each other. This was also kind of a lessons in seduction type of book, which I love. That's one of my favorite tropes in a book. She's very inexperienced, she's a virgin, and he shows her the ways, and it was great. The next book that I read was a super highly anticipated read, which was Reckless by Elsie Silver. This is the 4th book in the Chestnut Spring series. I haven't made very many videos yet, but I'm pretty sure that I gush about this series in every single video that I talk about, and it probably isn't going to stop anytime soon, so I'm sorry in advance, but oh my gosh, this whole series is amazing. Didn't know that I had a thing for cowboys, and I do. It's just perfect. I love every single guy. I love all of the girls. I love all of the stories. They're all very different and distinct, and the way that each of the characters cross over to each other's books, they're funny, they're emotional, they are really hot. The spice in here is just incredible, and this book in particular is my favorite of the series. This is a secret baby book. That's not even a spoiler because, I mean, the first page in here announces this as a, secret baby book. But, our main character, Winter, without giving too much away of the previous books, is always known as this very cold-hearted, standoffish woman. And she reminds me of Kat from 10 Things I Hate About You, just kind of bitchy, to be honest. And then Theo is all sunshine and rainbows, and I just love the way that he breaks down her walls and just, everything she does to protect herself, because no one's ever been there or cared for her or given her the attention that Theo has. And the way that he breaks down her walls and is just there for her and takes care of her so well. And then the way that he is with the baby, I ended up crying. I cried so hard in this book at that point. If you've read it, you know the point when he finds out, it just broke my heart. And I love Theo. Okay, he's amazing. I love this book. 5 stars, of course. The next book that I read was Beach Read by Emily Henry. This follows Augustus and January. Very unique names. You're not gonna forget those, okay? These are 2 famous authors that find themselves in the same like lakeside town in Michigan, and they decide it would be fun over the summer to switch genres. They're actually college rivals, knew each other back in college, and were always, you know, competing to be the best writer. They both ended up going their own separate ways, becoming famous in their own genres. She's a romance writer. He's kind of a literary fiction writer, definitely known for not having happy endings in his book. And they switch, and they have these little research dates that they take each other on, where she takes him to like a romantic scene to give him some inspiration for his romance novel, and he brings her to do research that he would normally do for one of his books to help each other write. And Emily Henry does the best banter, okay? I am always laughing out loud when I'm reading her books. It reminds me of the funny, quick-witted banter that you get from the characters in Gilmore Girls, as well as the quirky townspeople. If you like Gilmore Girls, I think you will really, really, really like this book. I loved it. I gave it a 5-star. It's great. The next book that I read was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which is a young adult mystery thriller. It is a girl who's doing her senior capstone project on a murder that had happened 5 years earlier in her town. And she just feels like there's a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of things that don't really make sense in the case, and she just kind of wants some answers. And she gets them. She is such a good little detective, and I did everything that I could to keep listening to this book. I kept cleaning, I kept cooking, I kept driving. I just wanted an excuse to keep listening to this audiobook because it was so good. I highly recommend listening to the audio version, because every time she did interviews with someone, there was a different actor for all of the people that she was talking to. And I just really, really, really love this book. 4.5 stars. The next book that I listened to on audio was The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. This book follows Catalina and Aaron Blackford. Catalina is from Spain originally, and she came to the US to work, and she is now working alongside Aaron Blackford. And she is complaining to her best friend about this wedding coming up. I think it's her sister's wedding, maybe it's her cousin, I forget. But anyway, she has a wedding that she needs to go to in Spain. And she's like, I can't go alone. I can't go to this wedding alone. She left Spain after being brokenhearted by her ex, and she just doesn't want to go back and look like this sad girl that never got over it. She wants to show that she's moved on and she has her own life now and she's doing great. And so she's already told her family that she's bringing her boyfriend that she doesn't have. And Aaron Blackford happens to hear her dilemma and offers his services, like, why don't I go with you to Spain and be your boyfriend and your date to this wedding? It is another fake dating thing where he just puts on the perfect show, so much so that it starts to be confusing. Is this real or is this not real? It's very sweet. It's very cute. You know, it's a rom-com. It's exactly what you think it's going to be. It's not anything super deep or anything, but it serves its purpose. It was really good. 4 stars. The next book that I read was Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This is the first book in the Last Hour series. If you're not familiar with this series, this is part of a huge universe of books called the Shadowhunters world universe. There are several series of books in this world. Last year I read the first chronological book in time, but last year I read the Infernal Devices series by her, and it was one of my favorite series of all time. Like, I absolutely loved and devoured that series. So I had a lot of high hopes and high expectations going into this, and I was a little disappointed. This book took me 2 weeks to read. That is a really long time for me. I normally take, you know, it's a thick book, like, don't get me wrong, it's almost 600 pages. I could easily take a week to read this normally because of it being so long, or I was busy this week or whatever, but 2 weeks is excessive for a book, and I had to force myself to read this a lot. The first half was so slow and so boring, I never wanted to pick up this book. Normally I would DNF a book at that point, but I really want to get through this series because I want to continue on to the other series that I know I'm going to like a little bit better. So I'm pushing myself through. Plus I own them, so I feel this obligation that I need to read them. Once I got to the halfway point of this book, it really picked up a lot for me, and I started not hating it and being interested. And then the last like 150 to 200 pages or so, I was very interested. And I definitely care about what's going on right now, and I do want to read the next one to see what's going to happen. And I'm hoping that I'm just kind of dealing with first book syndrome, you know, and the first book is like world building and introducing the characters and kind of slowly introducing the plot, and then the second book is so much better. I'm hoping that's the case in this series because it did build up to a really great plot. Like I can see it really going in a lot of interesting ways, and I'm really curious to see how all of that kind of unfolds. So I'm hoping that's what happened. I rated this a 3.75. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it, and I'm gonna continue. So now I want to talk about my July TBR and all of the books that I plan on reading next month. So I wrote them down. That's what I'm looking at. But the next book I want to read, I'm actually already in the middle of it, is Archer's Voice, which I'm absolutely loving, by the way. Like I'm probably going to finish it today, and I also started it today. But it's so good. I love it so much. I'll talk to you about it next month though. I also want to get to Fuel the Fire, which is one of the Addicted / Calloway Sisters series books. If you're familiar with the story at all, the next book that I'm going to read, Fuel the Fire, is about Rose and Connor, which are my favorite couple, so pretty excited about that. The next book that I want to read is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I've heard a lot of really good things about that. I've heard good things about the audiobook, which is probably the way that I'm going to end up reading it, is through audio. But yeah, I'm really excited about that. I'm going to read People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I also want to start the Kane Brothers series, and Not So Meet Cute. I have that whole series and I've been wanting to start that for forever, so I'm probably going to start that next month. I also am going to be reading Under Lock by Mariana Zapata. I read All Roads Lead Here last year and I didn't love it, but I do want to give Mariana Zapata another try because I really like slow burns, so maybe that just wasn't the best one to start with. So this is going to be like a motorcycle romance, so I'm interested in that too because I've never read anything like that either. Then I'm going to try If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. At some point I knew what this was about, and now I can't think of what it's about at all, but I know I've been wanting to read it for forever, and I've heard so many people talk about how great this book is. I know it has something to do with Shakespeare, and that's literally all I know. And then the last thing that I'm going to read is I'm going to finally kind of dip my toe into historical fiction, and I'm going to read The Lady Gets Lucky by Joanna Shupe. I read Outlander before and I love it. I love the TV show, I love the books. I didn't even realize there was this whole genre of historical romance out there. Plus I also think that the covers are a little bit off-putting. Like I don't really love historical romance covers. They're so cringy to me. But I'm still excited to read them because I always love historical fiction, like TV shows, like Reign, the Bridgerton series, like, you know, anytime there's like something historical, I'm like all about it. I always love those things. So I'm really excited to kind of start reading some of that. So that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.